Hello and welcome everyone to the Solstice Showdown. Tonight we're going to be hosting here in the losers bracket between Lunaris and dubnation for your casting entertainment. I'm going to be Sir Waltham, joined by Jag. Jag, let's talk a little bit about these teams, shall we?
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. I mean, we have number 2 Lunaris going up against number 11 dubnation. And, Lunaris has had a very solid roster throughout this tournament, but they've had a little bit of a rough time right now. I mean, they lost to number 3 Nocturnal, and they fell down to the losers bracket after being, seen as the favorites in that game. And they just actually competed also in the Prospect Cup against our number 1 seed, Regen, and lost to them too. So they're going to be looking for a little bit of redemption after some tough losses. But let's turn to dubnation. It's very interesting with them because their roster has been kind of in flux. A lot of the names that you've seen earlier in this tournament not here playing with a lot of different ringers tonight, but they've had a very interesting, composition that they've been running so far. A lot of, maybe one tricks per se, you could say. So teams really haven't been able to prepare for them at all. So even with all this roster, turmoil, they might be able to find some map wins here tonight.
That's certainly going to be the goal here, of course, as we talk about them being in that losers bracket. This is all going to be going towards the loser semifinals against our zero. So neither of these teams really going to want to be getting knocked out just quite yet. They're going to want to cling on for as much as possible. Of course, they're going to do that to start on Busan. Jag, do you have any thoughts here as we head towards Busan?
Well, this was the choice of dubnation, so you got to think they've got something up their sleeve. Busan's a really interesting map because each point kind of has a different idea of what you want to play. A little bit of dive, a little bit of brawl, a little bit of just poke. But I think it's really interesting because Lunaris, as we said already, did play that game already. But our Zero also competed in a game earlier tonight, and they were able to take this one. So, you know, will Lunaris be a little bit fatigued after that loss, or will they be warmed up enough to take the win against dubnation?
That certainly is a very good question and something to consider that fatigue, that tiredness definitely will come to be a little bit of a factor here. As we're going to start off on Mecha base, it looks like we are going to be starting there anyway. And as far as compositions go, Jag, do you expect anything specific, anything direct out of these teams?
Well, I have no idea what to expect from Dub Nation based on what we've seen in the past. But, I think a Brawl is really good here. Some Ryan Zarya. A Mei is really good to cut off those choke points all off the main taken base. That's a one fight for your side. So I think we'll just see a bunch of Brawl coming out. But, honestly, it'd be great to see some creativity as well.
Yeah, I certainly don't disagree. Mei seems like one of those heroes that always gets run here on Mecha base. You get those walls up right behind the enemy, and then you just hit them like a Mack truck with something like a Rhine or something that can get, real aggressive and up in their face of those severed units. But as we look ahead, we do still have a few seconds before these doors drop and the games actually get going here. We see light on the Pharah, and I'm inclined to say that might be a little bit of a debate here, Jag.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably not a far up, and here we see already the Ash Switch. No real skybox here for her, but really interesting. It looks like we're gonna see the double shield coming out from Lunaris, more of a brawl comp, but no Zarya on the side of dubnation, instead inclining for the Diva. So that's gonna be really interesting for them.
Yeah, it certainly will. The double shield composition from Lunaris is going to be setting up on that high ground rather early. It looked like dubnation was anticipating meeting them on that high ground. Not going to quite be finding it just yet, though. But an early pick from Oz right onto Light. That's going to immediately get a good opening for dubnation. It's really push here. Although it looks like they're just now trying to take the high ground back. And some strong rotations coming in from Lunaris. Nobody's really allowing themselves to be too vulnerable. However, now the fight is going to be getting underway. The brawl comes through. Pure takes down the lead rather early, but the point already been flipped for dubnation, despite hemorrhaging losses at this rate. And with this, you got to think that the fight's pretty much over for Lunaris. Stamped, done. Once they clear point, it's theirs.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, was it worth getting that 12-ish, 11-ish% exactly point capture just to lose that fight? I mean, they had that first pick, but it looks like they just weren't able to push in. As you said, Lunaris taking that high ground instead of taking that fight right at the beginning, and it's going to be really hard for dubnation to push into them. They're all the way on the other side of the map. The Genji Tuna already has his blade online. He could just unleash it right here.
We'll have to see if they drop the beam, if they have anything to respond to it. The blade comes out from Tuna. What does he find? The coalescence from the Moira keeps the team alive. Kunu there with the cleanup. Oz as well does get some damage in. Lunaris a little bit on the back foot in terms of manpower right now. Dubnation trying to swing back hard. They absolutely need that. The grab flex, however, coming into pure might change things up. Oz as well pulling out the blade. Gets stunned out and taken down by Noctis. That is such a crucial kill. And with this Lunaris, despite taking an early loss, he's gonna be managing to pull it back and hold.
Yeah, and again, dubnation able to take the point, but not able to win the fight, using so many crucial ults. It looks like they might have used Bob at the end there, not sure, but Oz is just not able to clean up with his blade. And now, right now, we're seeing the Genji 1v1, very exciting. And, you know, really sitting pretty on the side of Lunaris. They have that square on line, and they're in the perfect position with it as they're holding that high ground.
Yes, Sluggo does have that amplification, which is going to be looking for some high purchase value with it. Drops it, just a lot of pressure onto that Ryan shield, really forcing Dubnation to take this push nice and slow. And in fact, gonna back off, just let that window wear its effect out. And now they see that it is clear. They're gonna start pushing forward of it. The coalescence coming in, the Diva Bomb as well. Doesn't find a whole lot. A lot of line of sight breakage there. Now the Sound Barrier coming in, but it's not enough to save Oz. However, it is enough for Dubnation to get in there with some full force and really get some kills going. Of course, Light does throw Bob out onto the field. Doesn't seem to do a whole lot, though. Tuna gonna try to reclaim this with the Dragon Blade. Can he find it? Just a kill onto main tank as well. And Lunaris, I cannot believe they held that, Steve Frank.
Yeah, and main tank also got his shatter canceled at the last moment. They are up in so many of these fights, it just seems like they are not able to finish off these kills. Now coming in for the last second contest, but they're not able to touch. And that's 100% to 26%. First point going to Lunaris.
Yeah, like Noctis getting the whip shot onto the Lucio, not allowing him to really get that last toe on the point, not even allowing for that overtime contest. So far, I'm liking Lunaris' odds right now. Dubnation, they're showing some promise. They're at least getting to point, but it doesn't seem like their priorities are quite right. They're sacrificing a lot of fight wins for that 11, 12, 15% point progress, like you mentioned earlier, Jag.
I think one of the things here right now is, you know, that kind of roster that isn't really known for playing together, you know, hasn't played together for that long as far as we know, that they're just not having the same communication that a well-oiled machine would have. But we are now going to the next point, and these teams are running different comps. Very interesting. We're seeing the dive on the side of Dubnation, but more of a standard Orisa Diva comp coming out from Lunaris.
Yeah, of course, we're going to be looking for Waleed on the side of Dubnation to find that early purchase with the Widowmaker. As soon as they can get that kill, it's going to be just the floodgates opening up for Dubnation, but if they don't find it quick enough, then perhaps the tides can turn against them. Right now, just a little bit of hope. Not a lot of drops. Sluggo does get that immortality field forced out. Dubnation, again, first to rotate on the point. Can they hold it this time? Getting focused down and chased by Pure. That's going to be a great opening for the side of Lunaris to come in here hot and heavy. Main tank taking quite a bit of damage on the side of Dubnation, but they're able to back off, get healed. The Coalescence coming in from Luminous. Dropping that Dragon Blade now that the Coalescence has faded. Not finding too much with this time around, however, numbers have slowly bled from the side of Lunaris, and this is now a fight that Dubnation is a little bit happier about. They're getting more progress on the point, but it will only be a matter of time before Lunaris pulls it together and gets the point for themselves.
We talk about how fast Tuna is getting these blades. I mean, Genji has been so strong, saw a lot of play in Overwatch, but even with the Brig nerf, still so powerful right now, and Tuna is just slicing and dicing, was able to separate the team, didn't even need to get the kills. We saw main tank diff playing completely off point, trying to kind of run away from that blade, and it seems like Lunaris is just able to take advantage of not as many people on point, but here we are now with the re-engage from Dubnation.
Yeah, this time it's going to be on Oz, who has the Dragon Blade. However, the Diva Bomb going up high, trying to make the rotation a little bit more uncomfortable, and in the meantime, a lot of members have passed from the side of Dubnation. It doesn't look like this is quite their push either. Luckily, we're still going to have that Dragon Blade and Sound Barrier.
Yeah, and that fight ended so quickly, they're going to be able to recontest like in a few seconds here, so not much I can say here, but ults on both sides, very similar. I mean, that Sound Barrier could be the difference maker here, as they will be able to use it to counter the blade on the side of Lunaris, but you know, it's right now, it seems like Dubnation just needs to get their dive together, very split.
We'll have to see if they can make it happen this time around. The Diva Bomb coming out early from Kunu just to get the Diva re-mexed and back in the fight. And dubnation probably would have preferred to save that, and Kunu gets de-mexed anyway. Rather unfortunate. Main tank really finding it hard to get that dive angle in there. Does get supported by the Mortar Coalescence, but Tuna ready to slice and dice their way to victory here. Can they make this fight a win? No, gets taken down by Oz, and main tank on that Winston Genji combo. And with this now, man advantage for dubnation. If they could just make it happen, Pure taken out. That is a little less damage mitigation from that Diva. The Immortality field as well. It finally looks like dubnation sticking their heels into the ground and pulling it back.
Yeah, dubnation is not going into that Silent Night quite yet, and they kept the blade, which is huge. All they have on the side right now of Lunaris is that Orisa All, and you know, that can be destroyed, so not as great, especially with the dive, very easy to get rid of, and Tuna falling, so they're going to be able to stagger this out a little bit longer, but we're going to have a pause coming in, so it looks like we're going to waiting a little bit just to see how this point ends.
Yeah, and I wanna ask you here, Jack. Do you think that dubnation has just taken a little while to get warmed up to their really passive playstyle? Because it seems like you know that last fight it took a long time to get into for dubnation, but once they did, despite the DMAC onto Kuno, we really saw them kind of perform at a level that they were able to mitigate the blade from Tuna. They were able to hold on to their own blade. Do you think that that was just something that was a fluke, or that just they need to kind of lean on a little bit more?
I think they just built up their ult bank to the point that it was basically too big to lose that fight. But it looks like we're going back into this map right now. I think right now, really, main tank diff and Kunu need to get on the tank diff is diving in. He doesn't have that diva to eat damage for him. So if they can get that going, it's going to be really hard right now for Lunaris to take this point back.
As we see Lunaris trying to do this rotation towards the theater, they're going to be dropping that supercharger, and the Dragonblade going right in. Main tank actually getting another early kill. Oz will be cleaning up Sluggo as well. They have him absolutely canned in this tiny room, and they are making mincemeat out of Lunaris. This is looking good now for dubnation.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the stagger onto Pure. Looks like they're not going to be trying to finish that kill up anytime soon. You know, very good play by them, but now they have some ults online. They do have the Diva Bomb as well as the Colt, almost have the beat as well, and all we see on the side of Lunaris is Sluggo's Swear. So, you know, it's looking really good for dubnation. This could be last fight territory right here.
It certainly can be. Lunaris going to be looking to take this fight really accurately. They're going to initiate with that window, but the bubble right on top of it, main tank making sure that that window does not get too much value. However, it's not going to prevent Tuna from getting value, opening up a can of slice and dice on this opposing team. However, does get taken down by the Diva mech, but Lunaris not going to be bothered by it. They're still man up. They're making their way onto point. Somebody has to be there to contest. Oz trying to pull it back. It's called it in by Volby. And with that, the flip has gone over to Lunaris. The point is ticking up, and they're going to have Waleed catch it at last second.
The huge eat.
Yeah, a huge eat by Pure. Waleed not able to get that pulse mine off. That might have helped them to really turn this fight. Divamet coming in from Pure has a little bit of point clearance. Can it make it? Can it matter, though? Can it count when it needs to? Maintain taking down Noctis is a good factor here for dubnation, but they need to get just more than the one kill. They need to come in quick, however, as that overtime will burn down rather quickly. This fight is getting very bare bones, but Light on this Reaper absolutely trying to make it happen. The Genji trying to come in, Waleed cleaning up Light. This is going so back and forth right now, Jack.
Yeah, it's crazy right now, and it looks like right now that Lunaris is able to finish it off just at the last second. That Reaper switch by Light paying dividends in the very end, but dubnation still looking a lot better than they did that first point. So, you know, I don't think the series is far from over just yet.
Yeah, it's certainly not. I think dubnation's just kind of getting a little bit warmed up here, and it a little bit earlier. You know, Lunaris coming off the back end of, you know, a game in their own right, but dubnation maybe not necessarily as warmed up, and now we're starting to see that power ramp up from them. I'm liking it so far.
Yeah, and I mean, that was just, at the end, it just gets kind of chaotic, and I think, again, that communication just not as good on the side of dubnation right now, playing with a lot of new players, but, you know, once you get warmed up, not only with mechanics, but, you know, communication, those dives at the end looked very clean. I mean, when they were able to get all of the players of Lunaris in that room and just slice and dice, that was by far the best dive we'd seen by them on that point. So I think so far they've shown a little bit more creativity. We've seen a little bit more of standard comps coming out from Lunaris. So, if dubnation keep pressing that button, they might be able to take another map or take a first map in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we look ahead here towards our next few maps, what do you think is going to be a factor here? I mean, rather, what in terms of composition do you think is going to be a factor as we look towards that escort map that's going to be coming up?
Well, it's all in dubnation's court right now. They get to pick the map here, and it's going to be either Route 66, Watchpoint Gibraltar, or Rialto. All maps, honestly, you can run dive on, so I would love to see them try to stick on that a little bit. It seems like it was clicking at the very end. That brawl into the double shield just did not work out very well for them, so unless they're going to try to look for the brawl v brawl matchup, it's not just going to happen for them. But, they've got it in their corner right now, so I'm sure they're going to pick the map that suits them best.
And it looks like that map decision is going to be towards Rialto. Now, when you talk about Rialto, Jack, I have this hang up on Rialto, on Lijiang Tower, and a little bit on Oasis, where I have to talk about Pharah potential, right? Like you talk about the first point of Rialto, there is some decent Pharah potential. We see it run pretty consistently, not necessarily as much now that Echo's back. But do you think either of these teams can lean on that a little bit?
Well, I think after the recent Echo nerf, that Pharah is definitely in a little bit of a stronger state. Echo's beam not as long, not able to get, that half damage insta kill anymore. And yeah, like you said, there's so much great places for her to kind of hang behind the buildings right before the bridge, look for a boot kill. We haven't seen any of it so far. I think we could have seen maybe a little bit on Busan. Very good sky ceiling there, especially on downtown. But definitely in the realm of possibility. I would honestly love to see it, especially like a pharmacy double shield, just a lot of spam coming out, a lot of high damage, maybe a Hanzo as well. Throw it in, win.
Yeah, some very spammy comps, as you said. However, I don't know if that's necessarily the call for Lunaris. I think Tuna's been looking really good on that Genji, and I imagine that they'll keep their projectile player on what's been working. But for dubnation, I think it's definitely an option that they might want to stew around a little bit.
Absolutely. I think from Lunaris, we're probably going to see a Genji Ash again. The Genji, like we said, Tuna has been a star player so far, getting those blades so quickly. It did look like Dub Nation, though, at the end was kind of getting to the gist of, okay, how do we counter this? Oh, we just use Beat. And then we go in and kill the Genji. When you're not running that Ana for the Nano, the beat is the blade is just so much weaker, and I mean, especially with the armor nerf, not able to get those armor packs onto the Genji, so you're gonna have to commit rally basically to give him that extra armor and keep him alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's weird. We've seen some Genji buffs, but some I guess some synergies that have kind of
Hmm.
reduced his effectiveness, or we haven't been seeing Ana as much. So aside from the damage that blade can deal, he doesn't get that damage reduction either. Brig no longer able to just give him an armor pack and let him roam around cutting things with a suit of plate mail on. So it's kind of fascinating. You see those trade offs that are kind of going towards Genji players. I again, I still like Tuna on it. I still think Lunaris is making it work, but I think Tuna needs to be careful. If Dub Nation is adapting as fast as they adapted on Busan, they may learn to deal with it real quick.
Absolutely, and they might just say, hey, why don't we just play the Brig? Brig is a great counter to Genji ult. Doesn't even need the rally online. A stun, a whip right into him, takes him back, and the whole team can kind of focus him down. But it does look like we're having some issues right now with the lobby, so we're just gonna ponder this a little bit longer. What do you think we're gonna see from Dub Nation that will really counter what we've seen from Lunaris so far?
Well, so far from the tank line, Dub Nation has seemed like they're pretty comfortable running, the Diva Winston. So I think that dive might be a look that they might lean towards a little bit. We definitely saw that Diva Winston come out on uh, it would be downtown for
Hmm.
Busan. So I think that that's perhaps an option. Whether that's incredibly likely, who knows? I think they're gonna have to play real well to focus down Light on that Ash. That's what I'm just gonna assume Light's playing because Ash is really strong on Rialto, especially with that dynamite burn, building up those bobs so incredibly quickly. But really, that might be one of your most vulnerable targets if you're running that dive. So Dub Nation might want to look to commit some of those resources towards the Ash. They're going to have to be careful of that Genji, though.
Absolutely, and I think that main tank difference might be alerted to Orisa. We haven't seen any of that come out on the double shield, but we're gonna take a short break and find out what they're gonna run on Rialto in a little bit.
Thanks for hanging in there with us, folks. Lunaris versus Dub Nation. Lunaris up 1 after some pretty good fights on Busan. We're going to be heading on to Rialto here in just a little bit. Sir Waltham and Jag at your casting entertainment. And Jag, we were talking a little bit about Lunaris versus Dub Nation. Why don't you give us a quick recap?
Yeah, so far Lunaris is up 1-0. Busan, kind of a tale of two different points. You go to Mecha base and Lunaris basically in control the whole time. But on downtown, Dub Nation able to bring it back into a pretty even fight. So we're hoping to see a little bit more out of Dub Nation going into Rialto for some more creative comps. But I'm just really excited to get into this map and see what happens.
Yeah, we were waxing philosophic a little bit about the possibility of some Pharas, about dive potential and what these teams might be running. But I think it's safe to say with Dub Nation, you never know. You and I were joking around a little bit that it seems like sometimes Dub Nation doesn't even know what they're going to run.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what you're gonna do, how is the enemy gonna know what you're gonna do? Which, it seems like Dub Nation hasn't been as, outside the box yet from what we've expected and seen so far. A little bit more standard. Definitely different though from what we've seen from Lunaris. They really seem to like that Orisa, and even with main tank difference on the Rhine and the Monkey, just not able to really cement that hold. So I'm wondering if they're gonna give in and do that double shield, and that's exactly what it looks like so far.
Yeah, Lunaris is going to start off on the defense. Volby on this Orisa as well. Unsure what Pure is going to be running. Looks like it's going to be the Sigma as well. Not too surprising, although if memory serves, they did run Ori Diva earlier, so might have a little bit of a change up here for Lunaris, but a little bit of the standard for now.
Yeah, they really like that Orisa, and Pure playing that Diva, it looks like they were just getting a little bit more of high ground control. That Diva's so good at dealing with flankers or people trying to play the off angle, and they were really good at pressuring out the Widow on the side of Dub Nation. But here we are going into the second map, and it's going to be double shield versus double shield.
Again, actually no Ashe this time around. Going to be two Widows in line, both trying to perhaps out-snipe each other, get those early kills. However, neither one really getting that early advantage. Lunaris are going to be allowing a little bit of hard rotation coming in from their opponents in Dub Nation right now. Skill's just getting worn down. That will break here. See that kinetic grasp to really get into early shield. There's a lot of damage coming out. And I guess this fight is being taken really slow by both these teams. Might be what Dub Nation needs here. They have a respawn advantage to make them fight really slow. And Light, getting kicked off early by Lead, is a great opening, but they lose their main tank for it. And with that now, it's perhaps going to be them on the back foot. It's going to be Lunaris who just absolutely barrel ahead. But it doesn't look like they're going to get too aggressive. It looks like they're going to give them the respect that they need.
Yeah, and again, already Tuna has the blade out, but Type does have the square coming online, so it might be just a tale of who uses their ult first. That square's so useful in a double shield comp like this.
It really has. See Tuna sitting up on that high ground, and really getting caught out on that Widow. Tuna going in deep into the backline, going to be dropping it. The blade that is getting the immortality field. Volby forcing down Type as they jump into this guy to avoid that blade. You can't get away from this team, Lunaris.
Yeah, there is no escaping the wrath of Tuna. He will find you one way or another. And right now, basically, what we're seeing is a difference of comps, almost a complete mirror across the board. But then we see the Zen on the side of Dub Nation, and Light finding the pick onto Oz, so once again, to stagger them a little bit. And the Brig on the side of Lunaris, they really like running this Brig, and Light, just stop it. We can't even get into this next fight. You're just picking off too many people.
Yeah, Light looking a little bit like a fiend right now, but Tuna not looking to be outdone. Goes in deep, takes down Type, and a lot of support going in onto that Genji player. Yeah, absolutely support your man in the backline, and that's exactly what Lunaris is doing. They're looking good for it. They're even getting a little bit aggressive on this defense.
Yeah, now they have 5 ults online going into this next fight. Only 3 right now on the side of Dub Nation. So they do have that trance, which will be really good to counter Pure's grab flux, but it might not be enough. Here's the square coming online.
We'll see if they can find anything with it. Light taking down will lead early, might give them some advantage here. But the kill's looking a little bit even as Pure does take down Type. No immortality field now for the attacking Dub Nation. And Pure going on a little bit of a tear on this Sigma. Does have that grab flux, not even going to need to use it as this fight just falls all the way up Lunaris.
Oz is going to pick Light off at the very end, though, so they might have that 5v6 advantage going into this next fight. But like we said, so many ults right now on the side. Lunaris, it might not even matter. Right now we're seeing Kuno trying to get back to his team a little bit separated, being focused down by Tuna and Pure.
Yeah, a lot of ults being built on both sides. We're going to be hearing some grab flux come in from Canoe. And with this, and just ults going off everywhere. Oz bringing out the blade. Tuna taken it down. It's going to be Lunaris dropping that Transcendence to keep their team up. Everybody's throwing their ultimates into this thing. Dubnation know they need to make this fight count as they are losing players. They're losing ground, and that is not a spot you want to be in. The Supercharger doesn't get much effect for it from the main tank diff, but with that, it looks like a peel back for the side of Dubnation as they have one more shot.
Yeah, this is definitely the last fight, and all they have right now is that BAP square, which did not get a lot of value on the last attempt that they used it. So Tuna once again, 2 picks coming in already. They might have to go into this fight 4v6. There's might not even be time to touch the cart if they use that pull well.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to wait for the pull to come out from Volvi, but a lot of resistance and the BAP window coming out. Immediately going to be focusing down everybody. Main tank even too afraid to get near the point. With that, Dubnation didn't stand a chance to getting past this first point.
Oh no, no, no. Oh no. Oz, you were so close. What happened? It looked like he was just waiting for that perfect moment to touch, you know. If you touch at I think in like 3 seconds or something like that, it'll trigger overtime no matter what, but they just weren't there. They just weren't able to do anything. And those picks coming in, you know, those last 2 picks coming in before the fight even started, just being so detrimental. Such a great hold right now from Lunaris. I mean, this could be a very quick map for them.
Yeah, let's flip that around here, Jack. If you're on the side of Dubnation, what do you have to do to ensure this hold?
Complete cheese. Just go for the Bastion right now. I think they have to maybe ditch the Zen, you know, that trans coming out for the Sigil, but not really being able to do that much. They weren't able to focus down the targets that had that Discord orb, which is what Zen's really useful for in this comp. And it looks like they are in fact going to go to the Brig, so maybe they're hearing me. Caster Curse, who knows, but they've got to hold this really tight. They lose one person, that person has to swap into like the fastest character.
Yeah, and one thing they can absolutely not do is fall within the sightlines of Light. We saw Light, I think, take quite a few heads, or at least enough damage to really allow the team of Lunaris to get that capitalization. You don't want that to happen when you have so little forgiveness.
I think Light and Tuna have a bet right now about who can, you know, get more kills throughout this series. But, you know, I think the whole team's on it right now. But here we are, Tuna on the Tracer, going around the back, so looking for those entry frags.
Yeah, this positioning from the side of Dubnation means that they're only likely going to get one defense here. If they lose it, they lose everything. Main tank forcing out and taking down the immortality field of Sluggo early does mean that forgiveness is not going to be there for the attackers, but this cart continues to make progress. It's going to be the tanks kind of tiptoeing their way around that point, making sure it doesn't make too much progress. And Tight getting caught out, has to use that immortality field just to save himself. Sluggo gonna tear it down, and now the high ground was had from Lunaris. They're gonna jump down. Tuna tearing up Oz. Means that Lunaris now in a very good spot. The numbers are dropping for the side of Dubnation. Waleed gonna try to pull it back with a kill on the Tuna, but nobody really there to contest. No tanks, and it's looking so good for Lunaris.
Yeah, Type tried his best, but at the end will fall, and that is the second map in the series for Lunaris. Only one away right now from the series win.
Yeah, the theme that we were talking about earlier, where it comes to adaptation for Dubnation, I don't think we saw it at all here on Rialto, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the team, if I'm being absolutely sincere.
I think that you kind of get into this point where you're thinking, well, we have so many ults, you know, this is an easy win. But the problem is Lunaris already has all of their ults too, so you're just going to keep throwing everything at the wall and hope something sticks. Nothing stuck there, and I think that Brig has been really, really good for Lunaris so far. Yeah, and like you said, no real creative comps coming out there. You know, the very standard double shield, the Genji, and we just saw the DPS for Lunaris pop off, make it their game. Say, you know, no, you're just not going to move this point. And I think most interesting, you kind of touched on it as the attack was going on for Lunaris, but Dubnation deciding to take standard hold, which is really hard to defend when the point is so close to being capped already. They basically gave the most of it for free. Yeah, I would have loved to see a close hold just right at the spawn gate, try to make something of it. Probably have time to contest by the time that fight's over, so, you know, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, these are lessons that Dub Nation can, think about, look towards as we head into our next map. It looks like Dub Nation will be responsible for picking, and they're going to elect into King's Row. Do you think that helps them out here, Jag, or do you think it plays more to Lunaris?
Well, we've seen basically Lunaris stuck on that Orisa. They have not run Orion, they have not run a Winston. They really like that Orisa, and Orisa is not so great on King's Row. King's Row, it is a brawl map. I think everyone knows it for it. That doesn't mean you have to play brawl on it, but it is the most successful comp. And we've already seen Dub Nation try to run a brawl comp without the Zarya, which I still think is a very interesting choice. I think Zarya is just, superior, honestly, in the current meta that we have. But they have to turn it around here. It's do or die at this point.
Yeah, I really agree as well. We haven't talked a lot about the tanks for Lunaris, but I think they're doing a pretty standard or a pretty above standard job. There was a fight there where I was praising Pure for the amount of finishing kills they were getting, and they were playing Sigma. So, finishing kills not necessarily as difficult for a Diva, for a Winston, but when you have that burst damage with Sigma, it's a little bit more difficult. So I think that shine really comes through from Lunaris in that aspect.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that synergy plays a big part into it. I mean, when you run the Orisa Sig, you're really looking for shield rotation, making sure you're using Sig's Eat when other shield are available, making sure the positioning is good. And they've just been on point so far. They just seem to be totally in sync, totally following each other's moves, and Pure getting the credit for those kills. But at the end of the day, the Orisa sets him up. And as we talked a little bit on Busan about, it looked like main tank difference and Kuno just not on the same page of that dive, the Diva and the Winston kind of being at different areas at different points during the fight. But if they do take that Ryan Zarya out of the shed, as long as those bubbles are good and on time, they could just storm through Lunaris and make this a series.
And that's what we're hoping for here. I didn't come out to cast just 3 games, Jag. At least that was not my hope. I want to see this be a barn burner. I want to see the potential for a reverse sweep going ahead, but it has to start here on King's Row. I completely agree. I want to see some Ryan Zarya get that really big brawl coming in. But it looks like some other plans might be coming in from Lunaris as they're bringing out the Swedish engineer.
Oh, you gotta love a good Torb strat, and they're on defense. So we're not going to see it just yet, but I think the best thing I've ever seen is, do you know the strat where you TP the Bastion up top of the statue?
Yes.
Now just imagine that, but with a Torb turret. And that is just the biggest brain thing I've ever seen, but it looks like, everything we said about Brawl is just not going to happen. These teams want to do the double shield, and that's what we're going to get here.
Tuna gonna be swapping out though Knots onto the Torbjorn. They got my hopes up. I was so ready, but no. In fact, it will be the Genji. I can't blame him. Genji was looking really good. Now, as we see Dub Nation heading out on that Widowmaker, Waleed probably just trying to get some early damage, get an early kill.
Absolutely, and we basically have mirror comps again, except Ashe versus Widow, and again, we see that Brig versus the Zen, and with the Brig, you do have a lot of that burst healing with her armor pegs, and also a lot of frontline control of her shield bash, so it's gonna be very hard for this double shield on the side of Dub Nation to push in.
It will be. Waleed gonna actually be sticking onto that Widow, getting a high rotation up. That Baptiste ferrying Pure. Sluggo gonna be ferrying Pure, making sure that Sigma can stay alive. But the Dynamite from Light is certainly doing work, and the longer it takes for the side of Dub Nation to get onto the point, the happier Lunaris is going to be. They're just burning time off the clock. This is a very long and risky rotation if it fails to pay off nothing but 2. The tanks get halted off that high ground. Waleed does find a Light, so this might be a very good opening. Waleed now gets the second kill onto Sluggo, and suddenly Dub Nation looking very good for this fight. It looked like the halt onto point might have been a mistake, but they're going to work with it. They're going to run it.
Yeah, and Elite saying, I saw your Widow last time, Light, but I want to take control, show you what I can do. And they had that very slow, meticulous push, but they might actually be able to recontest this. I'm not sure. This point is ticking away very slowly. It doesn't look like they're going to do it. Looks like they're going to take that arch fight on the side of Lunaris. But yeah, that pull, they were trying to catch people out of rotation, but that lamp coming out from type and basically the whole team following through on that drop. Still not the cleanest of fights, but here's a square coming out.
Yeah, and both Sigma's going to be having those grab fluxes on a line. We're going to be seeing Kunu initiate immediately with that. Genji taken down early. Tuna's not going to be able to build up to that Dragon Blade. The amplification window coming out, but the tanks doing their best on the side of Dub Nation to push ahead of it, allow the limited effectiveness to come out from it. And Lunaris now going to be dropping that Transcendence in response to the grab. Helps Kunu as well alive. The light taking down Oz means that Dragon Blade's not going to be online for the attacking team either. And now the rally from Noctis feels like it might have just been the cure for Lunaris to really get this fight going, really take it. And looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
And this is exactly where you want to hold on this point. Good friend of mine once called this basically King's Row 1.5 for the points because it's so hard just to get through this archway. And you know, it was very interesting. It looked like when the Square was used by Lunaris, there was a great opportunity for the tanks on the side of dubnation just to push through, say, you know, you can't take that Square, but here's the Bongo coming out right now and the Blade.
We'll see if main tank Diff can make it happen, but Oz gets taken down. That Genji's so vulnerable to the Brig, as we mentioned. And now Tuna retaliating with a blade of their own, takes down that Baptiste and goes on to chase.
Yeah, Noctis with the play of the game so far. That stun was just so perfect. The whole team following up once it was done. And now Oz, no blade, nothing to show for it. And once again, ult's kind of reset. We do see Light with the Bob almost online, Sluggo pretty close to the Square. Oz looking to take this fight early, but it looks like Huno's going to be coming out right now with the Flux.
As this Flux does come online, everybody's going to get lifted up, including Bob. Bob's not able to get right there on the cart. Lunaris may have just played their hand a little bit early. The Immortality Field going to be coming out as Lunaris takes quite a few hits. The amplification window now from Type, but the shield right in front of it is going to be double windows. Both teams just trading blows, and right now it looks like those blows go all in favor of Lunaris off the back to Tuna.
There is nothing more fun to watch visually than two Squares coming online at the exact same time. And again, it looks like dubnation had the opportunity just to push through. Their Square was up, you know, first. They were there. They had a little bit of the advantage there, but they back off again, giving the advantage back to Lunaris. They're able to push through, but now we're seeing the Widow swap off on to the Ashe instead. So Dueling Bobs Pure has his ult online, and Oz so close to that blade. So it looks like Lunaris is giving them a lot of room right now. I'm surprised, giving a lot of free real estate.
Yeah, a lot of respect being shown, but the blade may have just been a bait. Tuna goes and drops the blade right onto Oz, who had a blade of their own. Dubnation going to be dropping the Transcendence off the back end. They might want that one back.
Yeah, and you know, we did see what I was talking about earlier. The rally committed, making sure that Genji just does not die, and Tuna is gonna fall at the very end. Not too bad for them though. They still have. They're so far forward. I mean, do you think they're gonna hold this, or do you think they're gonna? I answered my own question before it was even asked. They are gonna back up, gonna take back that point. And you're right. Even though they did give up that free real estate, they have complete control of this cart right now.
Yeah, some very good-looking control as the time does continue to tick down for dubnation. They have a few more good pushes here. Both teams going to be looking to really get things going. There's going to be the supercharger on the side of dubnation. They might be looking to initiate with it right on this corner here, and in fact, it will be. That shield going to be barely in front of that supercharger, looking dangerous. Oz, in fact, drawing the blade off the back end, and that looks like it was the ticket that dubnation needed to punch.
And it looks like Tuna is just going to go for the spawn camp at this point. He's waiting for that Zen to respawn so far forward, but it's going to be a 5v5 fight, it looks like, at the end of point 2. They might not even be able to touch. Pure falling, so it looks like they're just going to get this point for free, extending this map, and it's looking pretty good for dubnation, honestly. They still have a good amount of time on the clock, a few more fights, but look at this all bank that's been built up from Lunaris.
Yeah, I cannot quit watching Tuna in the backlines. You don't want to take perhaps your most effective DPS out of the fight, and with that, I solely believe that was a large portion of the reason dubnation was able to capture here. The window now going to be coming out from a Sluggo to really increase that damage and make it hurt just all that much more. Dubnation going to be trying to pull back Oz on the back foot.
Yeah, main tank difference gonna fall at the very end. Tuna still all the way behind them. Can he get out? This mad lad going for the 1v1 right now on the Sigma is able to win it. Oh my goodness, Tuna, stop. They have families.
Yeah, Tuna looking rather good right now, but Lunaris not perfect. They have given up that second point, which does give dubnation some hope moving forward. Lunaris trying to poke on this Zenyatta. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, the Zen just has not been the value. They've been looking for, look at this, all these ults coming through right now.
A lot of ults coming online. Tuna going to be dropping the blade, but Lunaris able to respond with that Transcendence, but doesn't have it in response.